Hello, this is a Nest Thermostat that I just installed. Want to do a quick review of it. My real purpose in getting this thing is to do some software integration, but I figured that it might be good to show people how it works and what it looks like once installed. So the first thing you'll notice is that there's nothing lit up on it. Most of the pictures you see on the website or even on the box show you, a screen that shows you the current temperature and stuff like that. That's actually not lit up unless you actually walk up to the Nest. And I can walk up here. Usually it doesn't sense me. I'm walking around. There, it actually did pick me up that time. So if you walk up to it, or if you push the button, it'll light up like this and tell you what's going on. So right now it is currently heating the house, so it is red in color. It would be black in color if it was not running. And you can see on here it's set to heat up to 69 degrees. And there is a 66 degrees is the current temperature. So to change the temperature is pretty simple. We just turn this one way or the other. We can, make it very hot in here. Can bring it back down. Heat it up to 68 degrees. Bring it there. We're down to below the current temperature, so it's actually shut itself off. Raise it back up, and you'll notice it's got a little start delay when you cause it to cycle on and off. I think that's to prevent the heat from cycling too often. So that is the basic interface. It parallels the old school type mechanical thermostats, and it is kind of neat. Very easy to use and set things. There's also a push button. You can push this ring at any point, so you can push it down there, and you'll get a pop-up menu. The first thing over here is just done, which goes right back where you were. But you can see there's some other options. So going into away, you could set it to away mode. That'd tell it that you're not going to be here. It doesn't need to heat the house. Let's keep going. Settings. It's got all kinds of different settings in here. We can turn the fan on and off. That's one of the things I don't like about it, is that my old thermostat just had a button I could use to change the fan on and off. This one, you actually had to, do some clicking and twisting and clicking and to get to the fan setting. You can lock it. You can turn the learning mode on and off. Control the brightness of the display. Screen on when you approach, or screen on when you press. I really wish it had a screen on all the time, so it would, look a little bit more like it does on the website and give me the information I wanted. It's got a little clicky sound you can turn on and off. The units, you can name it. The current date and time. It actually has a little wizard that helps you wire it. It's got some advanced options, so you can configure your range settings so it can do both heating and cooling from one set point, or you can configure your heat pump settings, configure your equipment, set a safety temperature so it won't ever let the house get too hot or too cold. Technical info, there's a whole page full of stuff you can scroll. It shows you sensor values, all kinds of information, legal info, reset. And then let's look here. There's also this energy screen. And that's one of the neat things about it, is it seems nice to be able to monitor how much energy you used, but it falls a little bit short here because it says, yesterday I used an average amount of energy. Well, what's average? Is average a lot? Is it a little? It would have killed them to put a number there. You'd think they could have put, a number there, like I used 5 hours or something. The day before, on Friday, I used 1 3/4 more hours more than average, which again, it's useful to know, but I'd just like to know an absolute number. You've got all this space on the interface. I don't know why they didn't put that. On March 29th, I used 2 hours less, and it was actually a cloudy day, so it does know the weather. Then I used average. I used a little less than average. I used average. So I think there's a lot of room for them to improve that. It's not doing nearly the amount of stuff it should be capable of doing. And then there's a scheduling thing in here where you can actually program the schedule. So you see it's got all these schedule points in it. So, you know, there's like a schedule point, 68 degrees at 12 p.m. on Thursday, so I could push and point and click and move that around to change what it would do on Thursday. Let's just hit done. So yeah, that is pretty much what the Nest Thermostat does. So here is the Nest application running on my iPad. See, it's got a home icon and an icon for each individual thermostat that you might have. My thermostat on the wall is currently heating. It's set to 70 degrees. I can click and raise that in 1 degree increments. We can see here the current temperature in the house is 69. The interface works almost exactly like the one on the wall, except rather than you know, twisting, you're tapping up and down. Seems pretty intuitive, pretty foolproof. There's also a setting, so I could turn the fan on or auto. I could change the name, I could change the temperature scale. You can also edit the schedule, so there's the little pointers, set points for the schedule, kind of similar to how they work on the one that's mounted on the wall. So basically it's pretty much a straightforward translation of the interface on the Nest on the wall onto the iPad. So about 2 days after I finished the first review, Nest already came out with a new version of the software that fixes one of my complaints. And that was the energy monitoring feature. So if we go into energy monitoring, we'll see it now has a day-by-day breakdown. I can scroll up and down. It keeps about 10 days of history showing how much it was run in each day. So Friday the 13th, it's run for 1 1/4. Thursday the 12th, run for 30 minutes. Wednesday the 11th, 45 minutes. I can tap on any of these to show me a detailed breakdown. So I can see it ran a little bit at, I don't know, let's say about 10 a.m. or so on Friday. Let's go down to a more complicated day like this one where we had lots of heating. So we've got heating going on from midnight in little spurts until about 8 a.m. and then it tapers off. Then temperature rise to 70. That was one of the scheduling points. So it did a little bit of heating, whoops, right before noon, then went back down to 68. So that's kind of nice. You can see, you know, when heat is occurring. I still wish it did a little bit more. For example, I wish it could show like weekly totals, monthly totals, and a longer history than 10 days. But given that they've come out with this feature already, maybe they are working on some of those other things too. I also saw a few new things show up in settings. For example, it's got this at a glance page, and I can use the at a glance page to turn my fan on and off, as well as see the humidity, the current temperatures, etc. Unfortunately, if I exit the app and go back in, no longer at the at a glance page. I kind of wish, if we have all this screen real estate, might as well just leave it up there all the time. So there's other things that have showed up in settings. For example, we can turn a bunch of learning settings on and off here. I have learning pause because I like to be able to control things myself. We can look information on our equipment, set the compressor lockout, auxiliary temperatures, etc. So it can only be set from the thermostat. So maybe that's something they're working on, but I can't complain because I can't actually set that from the thermostat. You know, wiring, I can view my wiring. That's kind of neat. Safety temperatures. Forced air can only be set from the thermostat. Again, no biggie. The one thing I wish they'd do is put somewhere on here a place to run the fan. Would have been nice. Take a very quick look at the web browser application for your traditional computer. I'm running it on my Windows PC. You can see I've got an interface that looks not unlike the iPad app with little arrows that I can click and raise the temperature, lower the temperature in 1 degree Fahrenheit steps. There is also a settings tab down here where I can rename my thermostat. I can change the temperature to Fahrenheit or Celsius. I can turn the fan on and off. It's kind of nice to be able to turn the fan on and off. I can view the current learning settings, and I can view the technical information. The scheduling editor, much like the iPad app again. So it's really, you know, quite similar to what we saw before. Okay, we'll take a quick look at some of the changes to the web user interface on the Nest. So just like the iPad, they now have an energy tab. It's been a little while since I shot the iPad video, so you see it's cooled down where I'm at. I've actually used no usage on the heating or air conditioning in the past 5 days or so no usage is reflected. And we can see here on Monday the 23rd, I ran my air conditioner for 7 3/4 hours. About 7 1/4 on the 22nd. You can see here's the point where I switched the Nest over from heating mode to cooling mode. It went from red icons to blue icons. Back on Saturday we used a little bit of heating. So not too exciting there. It just looks like the other interface we're familiar with. Inside the settings tab we also have the at a glance page where I can flip my fan on and off. And we also have the equipment page where I can look in here. I can see the wiring on the thermostat, and I can see these other options just like the iPad. Some of them, like forced air, you can only set that from the thermostat. No surprise there. So that is it. Those are the updated changes to the UI. But that is pretty much it. So you've got the thermostat, you've got an iPad app and an iPhone app, you've got a PC app. It all sort of works and looks sort of the same. They've designed it to be pretty easy to use. Just a few closing thoughts. You know, since I did install this, I can tell you the installation procedure was fairly simple. The only problem I had with installation was the plastic wall anchors that they supplied. I had a little bit of difficulty screwing those in the wall. They kind of bottomed out and got themselves into some trouble. Other than that, it was just a matter of mounting the thermostat, hooking the wires up, and it was good to go. So one problem I had after installing it was the temperature read a little bit high, about maybe 4 or 5 degrees hotter than the room actually was, so I was worried that the accuracy was not very good. But after the space of about an hour or two, the temperature sensor did start to agree with the ambient temperature in the room. So I think what had happened was there is a battery in the Nest, and it was probably generating a little bit of warmth while charging that battery up initially. Read about that on some of the forums that happened. So if you do notice some inaccuracy problems in the first hour or so, I would say, you know, give it some time, see if the accuracy does improve and it does start working normally. The other thing which bothers me a lot more, and I've actually produced another video documenting this, was I had one incident where the Nest became fully unresponsive, and as far as I can tell, it left the house unheated for about 12 hours. You know, I was away, I got back, the house is cold, the user interface for the thermostat is completely not working. There's no obvious way to push and touch and tap and get it to do anything, and I'm sitting there, you know, frustrated trying to figure out how to heat the house back up. I have to go onto the internet and figure out that by pushing and holding it, it would eventually reboot itself. But you know, a thermostat, its very basic requirement is that it has to be reliable. You know, it has to keep your house warm or keep your house cold. So hopefully that was just a limited problem and will not be happening again. Other than that, I'm reasonably happy with the quality of the thermostat. It seems to work well. I do think the software in it has a tremendous amount of improvement that can be made. For example, they could flesh out the monitoring. They could add graphs to show you on a daily or monthly basis. You know, all those seems like things that should be implemented in thermostat in this price range. The other thing that I really dislike about it is the complexity in turning the fan on and off. So, for example, you know, I like to be able to turn on the fan just to circulate the air in the house. In order to do that, I have to, you know, push the button, I have to twist, I have to push again, I have to push again, you know, it's several steps. But the final thing I thought was missing was a hold temperature feature. So I like to be able to, particularly when there's guests over, select a temperature and just hold at that temperature and bypass all the scheduling. And the Nest doesn't seem to have any feature like that. You can change the temperature, but eventually it will go back to the scheduled programming. And that seems like something that's just enormously missing in a thermostat of this expense and complexity. Hopefully that is another feature they will be adding in the future. And that is it for this review of the Nest Thermostat.